So the book we're looking at today is the epic collection Conan Chronicles from Marvel. This is a continuation in the Conan Chronicles epic collection book series. Prior to this, you've got 7 other epic collections to collect. You can tell that by the numbering on the back, which we'll see in a minute, but this essentially collects stories published from 2015 to 2017. I'm a big fan of this Conan book series, and I've collected as many of them as possible. Now, looking at the actual book, you've got a standard sort of epic collection spine and cover, and then on the back you've got the volume numbering, as well as the description showing that it collects Conan the Avenger 20 to 25 and Conan the Slayer 1 to 12. And then in the front you've got a handy guide as to what other epic collections you can get in the range, and you've got your publication dates and credits. So this story continues on the saga from the previous volume. You find that the queen of the city that Conan previously liberated has been replaced with a witch, and this results in Conan being cast out and crucified, and not just a little bit crucified, properly hand and nail to the cross crucified, as you can see there. So he goes from being top of the world to bottom quite soon. Anyway, Conan being Conan, he doesn't stay there very long, and he makes his way out and ends up with a tribe of mercenaries, soldiers, wanderers, and soon becomes high-ranking in their numbers, and essentially, takes over command of them and leads them on adventures through the various Numidian lands. There are women in this. There is a spectre, a ghoul of death that is following Conan along his route, which is essentially what the blood in his wake bit relates to. And there's the rescuing of maidens from cities from monsters and that. Very standard Conan fare stuff, but it's great fun. There's blood and sword chopping and all the kind of things you want to see in a book like this. You get a number of different writers on this book, not least of all the likes of Cullen Bunn. You also got Fred Van Lente, and obviously the artists vary issue to issue, but the art is always consistent, the art is always clear and good, which is something I'm a big fan of. I'm not the best person to speak to about art that gets very sort of wishy-washy and experimental, I suppose is the best way to put it. But if you are a fan of the Conan stories, I would rate these well over the current stuff that came out of Marvel whilst they had the Conan license. I mean, these were originally Dark Horse stories anyway, as far as I'm aware, but they are great stories. They all tie together, so if you can get as much of the book series as possible, and if you can get the Kurt Busiek Conan Omnibus, that essentially takes care of the first 2 or 3 epic collections in this series, and that has got really good art and some classic Conan stories mixed in there. I've done a review on that omnibus on the channel if you want to have a look, but totally worth checking out. Get it before it goes out of print, because these Conan epics are starting to become hard to find.